Alors, ce soir, on va parler des extraits,
Yes,
des
sir.
concentrés, le
Tonight,
distillat,
ce
live
soir
resin,
à,
live rosin, toutes les différences,
ce soir
toutes les misconceptions.
à distiller et concentrer, démystifier pour vous,
Oh,
Jay. Par quoi t'as le goût de commencer, Jay?
je pense qu'on va commencer avec le distillat.
Distillate, distillat.
Distillate.
Qui serait traduit
And,
par quoi? C'est les concentrés en français ou c'est la catégorie de concentré, mais ce serait.
ouais, c'est un catégorie concentré, un extrait. We call it cannabis extract, just like anything else. Even hash is a cannabis extract.
Mhm.
And
Juste vous dire, gardez vos questions. On va revenir vers la fin pour les questions. So keep your question, and at the end, we're gonna do like a question and answer period. Fait que voilà. Oh, yeah, sorry.
yeah, I'm gonna try to speak a little bit of French included in there, but
Ça va.
comes to the science and terminology, that's where it's a little bit more difficult. So I'm sure everybody at one point they saw advertisements for standard distillate pens. And sometimes you'll see those advertisements as sativa, hybrid, indica, and it'll have a name like Blue Dream, Bubba Kush, something like that. This is something that upsets me a little bit in the cannabis industry. And it's been like that since the black market, that companies were labeling their distillate as a sativa, an indica, or a hybrid, and making the consumer feel that that's the effect that it's going to have on their body.
Donc, pour résumer, en gros, les distillates, comme par exemple les vape pens, les cartouches 510, qui sont faites puis qui sont labelés ou qui sont décrits comme étant des sativa, des indica, ou même des fois, ça va aller jusqu'à étant un distillate de Blue Dream ou quoi que ce soit. C'est quelque chose qui irrite Jay parce que, si j'ai bien compris, il va vous l'expliquer, mais le processus pour faire le distillate va extraire seulement la molécule de THC, c'est bien ça?
Exactly. So, distillation has been around for hundreds of years when it comes to alcohol. And the way that we make distillate, and the most common way, is through a method called extraction de ethanol, where the cannabis is put into extremely cold temperatures and the cannabis oil is extracted from the plant, meaning the trichomes and the heads, as well as all the fats, the lipids, the waxes, all the chlorophyll, excuse me, all the stuff you don't want to put into your body. And what comes out of that process is like a black oil, crude. We call it crude oil. Before the process, it's just this crude oil that hasn't been refined yet. When we do with that crude, we can do a lot of different things. To make distillate, we take that crude and we put it into a rotovapor where it's moved around at a high temperature of heat and it vaporizes into a vapor and it goes through the process of distillation. Now, distillation means that that vapor will travel through the glass, through the whole system, and through that system, there are different cooling points. Now, CBD, THC, CBN, CBG, they will all cool and turn back into a liquid at different temperatures.
Donc,
So if we know those temperatures, we can collect them all
individually.
individually and isolate just the molecule that we want. Right now, it's THC.
Let me
So that
resume in
vapor.
French a little bit, okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, en gros, maintenant, la distillation, ce qu'il fait pour faire un distillate, c'est de la bonne vieille distillation. Ça existe depuis des années. Vous le savez, on a tous déjà vu des émissions ou des vidéos sur les gens qui font de l'alcool avec l'alambic, puis l'alcool qui se distille, puis après ça refroidit, puis ça redevient du liquide. Ça passe d'un état gazeux à un état liquide à nouveau. Bon, je veux pas non plus rentrer dans le processus scientifique, mais en sachant que les molécules dans le cannabis vont se vaporiser ou on va se distiller, pardon, à différentes températures, on réussit maintenant à les isoler, que ce soit le CBD, le THC, le CBN, etc., 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 à la bonne température, ils vont se distiller. Ce qui fait qu'ils vont réussir à, dans le cas qu'on parlait, sortir seulement le THC et le gel est continué.
Exactly. So now that THC molecule will cool and drip down into our glass beaker. And I can also collect my CBD and CBN. And now I've just isolated the THC. So now I have my THC distillate. All the terpenes, all the other cannabinoids, all the makeup that made this cannabis plant what it is has been stripped away. And all that's left is the THC. Most companies will use a mixture of many different kinds of cannabis and just take the trim, because it's very cheap to make distillate, because it doesn't matter if you take a trichome off a leaf, a sugar leaf, or if you take it off a bud. The trichome is a trichome. Now, a healthier trichome on a big bud, and obviously more resin, and you're going to have a higher THC content on some of them. But when you're making distillate, it doesn't matter, because you can have hundreds of kilos of shake and trim, and you can only buy it for maybe 10 cents per kilogram per gram. And then it's very cheap to make, because distillate's not expensive to make at all. 2 years ago, 1 kilogram of distillate, when we used to make it with an old processing company we were with in Ontario, 1 kilo of distillate at the beginning of the market, beginning of 2018, was $40,000 par kilo. $40,000 par kilo. A lot of companies made a lot of money. In the black market, it was $2,000 per kilo.
What?
$2,000 per kilo. Now today, December 1st, 2021, 1 kilo of distillate in the legal market in Canada is $4,000 or $5,000.
Okay.
It's more reasonable now. More people are making it. It's not so rare.
So basically, ce qu'on dit, what we're saying is that there's no entourage effect. Il n'y a pas d'effet d'entourage, il n'y a pas de terpenes, il n'y a pas la combinaison. Mais à ce moment-là, juste pour rajouter une question aussi, comment est-ce qu'ils se retrouvent à avoir des saveurs puis des trucs comme ça dans les petits trucs? Par exemple, la Glacial Gold que j'ai ici, Berry, patente machin, il y a la Mint aussi, quelque chose.
I'll answer that question, but we're going to take a step backwards first,
Sure.
and back to the process. So now we've done one pass through the distillation machine, and now we have a distillate that's about 80 to 85% pure. This will, when a distillate is done properly, we're at 95 to 99% pure. Still in Canada, it's very rare to find that. So how do we purify it? Encore, on va
Going through the same process.
reintroduce it to the distillation, and on fait un deuxième pass. Okay, and in that deuxième pass, hopefully we get to 90%, 92%. Pure distillate at room temperature, c'est une solide. It's not going to go in a pen.
Like
It's
what
going to
you
be
call
too thick.
a diamond?
No, not diamond. I'm just saying that it will look the same, but the oil will be
Solid.
almost as, yeah, you know, at room temperature. You could still move it a little bit, but it's not going to flow. So a lot of companies would cut the distillate with a terpene, a botanical terpene, or some type of cutting agent that is going to make it move, right? Distillate has to move when it's warmed up a bit so we can vape it in a pen. Pure distillate in my opinion, would come dans un seringue. Okay. And it would be a solid, and you would warm it up in your hand to make it warm, and then you would dispense it. And that would be a 99% pure distillate. That would be like a real medicine that we're not finding in Canada yet.
Okay.
That's something that's very rare. So now the companies say, okay, il y a des compagnies de terpènes. On peut aller les chercher sur Google. On peut acheter des terpènes dans des petites bouteilles, des terpènes avec des profils de n'importe quel strain. Alors moi, je suis un LP, je veux faire des vape cards Baba Kush. Alors, je vais acheter des terpenes, des fake terpenes, de botanical extract that came from plants or came from fruits or came from other places. And I'm going to figure out the ratio of how much terpene I need to mix with my distillate to still make it move, but not make it taste so strong, and to find that right formulation. Mm-hmm. And a lot of companies do that. And we see that with a company like, let's say, even a great company like Foray. Okay. And they have their blackberry kush, and they have their strawberry ice, and they call it a sativa, and they call it an indica. They're not a sativa. They're not an indica. That THC is going to have the same effect on your body. It doesn't matter what strain it started as. It doesn't matter if it was a straight 100% sativa THC plant. When I extract it and I make it distillate, the THC doesn't know the rest of the plant that gave it the characteristics of a sativa, right? All it knows is that molecule, that THC molecule that's been removed and then reintroduced.
And what about those new terpenes, those botanical terpenes that are reinserted? Can this create a new entourage effect with the THC?
Well, can anything that didn't come from the cannabis plant be accepted by our endocannabinoid system? We can't fool our bodies, right? We can fool our tongue, we can fool our nose, but we can't fool our endocannabinoid system. So if I don't have the pure essence of the plant, the entire plant being used, when the only thing that I want to remove is the fats, the lipids, the waxes, the chlorophyll, that's the stuff I don't want. But I want all the resin, right? All the resin, a little stalk with that little head. That's all that we want. The rest we throw away, right? When we smoke a joint, okay? When we're smoking a joint, what percentage of all this smoke do we really want? What percentage of what's burning here do we need in our body? It's a very, very small percentage. Everything else is just going up in smoke.
Yeah, true.
I'm smoking all this paper. I'm smoking all the leaf. I'm smoking all the stem. I'm smoking all this green stuff. Everything that's green, I don't need. It's not doing anything for me. In fact, that's the only unhealthy part of this process, which is why we're going to talk about extraction, and is just removing the trichome. The rest is the tree. When you go apple picking, do you eat the whole tree, or do you pick up the apple and eat it? The trichome is the fruit. The rest is just a waste. It's just a vessel. It's just something the fruit is growing on. The rest we don't want. We want the cannabinoids. We want the terpenes.
So
all the rest we don't need.
To get all this terpenes, rosin, and all that, we gotta ditch those distillate and go for resin, and that's where you're gonna start differentiate all those. Sorry, I'm going too fast. I want to learn so much.
No. You're absolutely right, and I'm here all night. You know, we as consumers, and we live in 2022 now. We've learned so much about this plant, but there's still so much to learn. So many cannabinoids that we don't know the effect of, how to isolate them, how to grow specific strains for specific effects that we want to achieve on our bodies. Because is cannabis really about getting high? Or is cannabis really about achieving the desired effect that we're trying to get? Because I know before you go on stream, there's a certain strain that you're going to smoke. Before you go to bed, there's a certain strain you're going to smoke. Mm-hmm. You're self-medicating. You know, I'm a firm believer that all cannabis is medicinal. Whether you go to the SQDC or Mendo or the OCS, wherever you go, it's all medicinal.
It's just a little bit taboo, right? Still, yeah, like people
we still have that tabooness, right?
People don't want to go like je bois de l'alcool parce que j'ai un problème d'alcool, mais c'est pas la même chose. Je consomme parce que justement j'ai besoin un peu de consommer pour passer à travers tel aspect de la vie ou pour m'aider avec telle douleur, que ce soit une douleur physique ou une douleur mentale. Ouais. Les gens veulent pas se l'avouer encore comme si c'était tabou un peu, mais bref, les gens devraient se permettre un peu plus justement d'aller chercher une prescription puis d'avoir accès à des produits comme ça, comme les rosines, comme les trucs que je suis en train de découvrir grâce à toi d'ailleurs, merci, qui, bon an, mal an, font en sorte que t'es pas en train justement de te mettre le 90% de matière de plante dans le corps que t'as pas besoin de te mettre, puis que tu vaporises les produits que t'as besoin à place de juste les brûler, puis voilà.
I have nothing against distillate at all. The distillate has its place in my life, right? It's right here. I have it always at my hand. I know right before I'm about to sleep, would I hit it to try to fall asleep? No, it makes my heart go a little bit fast. You know, the distillate, especially the Glacial Gold. I'm not plugging any brands here now, okay? But the Glacial Gold is the highest quality distillate that I've tried so far on the market because of the process and the equipment that they use. Are they better at making distillate? No. Do they happen to have some proprietary techniques and a good quality machine? Yes, because that's 99% of what you need to do. It's not, you and me can make distillate together, right? It's insert, push and play, right? Anyone can do it. You don't need to be it's not like making live resin. There's really no science behind it. Okay. You know, it's plug and play. They call it hot dog water because it's, you know, c'est hodgepodge de beaucoup de strains de le shake que personne veut fumer, you know? There's nobody wants to do anything with it. It's cheap. But
c'est de la biomasse, ça, c'est les gens vendent leur espèce de fond de bague de biomasse.
Yeah.
Qui réussissent à rentabiliser comme ça. OK. Wow.
So distillate has its place in society, but people need to be educated to know what distillate is and what distillate isn't. Distillate can never give you an entourage effect, no matter what the LP tells you, no matter what. It just is science. It's just impossible. They can add real terpenes from cannabis plant, reintroduce it. So now we're trying to create some synthetically fake altered molecule that some guy in a lab is putting together and says, this is going to give you this effect of an indica? No. THC will get you high. It will get you fucked up, and it will do it in 1 or 2 puffs. 1 or 2 nice puffs on the go. You got it. It's great. And it's $35, right? For a gram. It lasts a long time. Tastes good. It gets the job done. But it's not it's not having any effect other than the THC on your body. Yeah. So that's really distillate in a nutshell.
The product does have its reason to exist. Like we tried a little cigarettes also this weekend, and at some point I'm not a big fan of pre-rolls that are looking like a cigarette, but at some point it's like, hey, do you still have those? Because we're waiting for a taxi, but I will have time to smoke one of those. You know, it's fast, it's easy, and it's the same thing with those little things. When you don't have time, but you always have time for this. You take it out of your pocket, you draw it, and that's it. And what about those companies? Tu sais, les compagnies qui lancent le full spectrum and full well, c'est ça, plus full spectrum effect and all that. Is it like the new hype word or something like this?
Canada is following the same learning curve that all legalized cannabis states did in the US. Let's take California, for example. So the cannabis user in California 10 years ago, we're way behind in terms of the products that the most people try. So at the beginning, distillate was the thing that was easy to make. There was no live resin. It was shatter, it was distillate, it was crumble. That's all that you had. Okay, that's it. And then palettes started to change and people started to understand the difference between a distillate and then a CO2. Now, a CO2 extraction, the cannabinoids are all put back together from the same plant, and you get a full spectrum oil from a CO2 extraction. Okay. So CO2 extraction was a very big thing because now, you weren't using any alcohol. It was just CO2, and it was, blasting the trichomes directly off of the plant material. And you were able to isolate still the terpenes, even, the individual terpenes, and you could harvest the terpenes. So we were never able to harvest terpenes before and collect them, right? And get a big jar of the real terpenes, And they started to put that into distillate. But real cannabis terpenes from Gelato 33 or, Pink Kush or whatever, when you isolated it, it also enhanced the potency, right? Because now it's like a concentrate. So they would add like a little bit to the distillate, but it had a taste like flowery, like roses, and like it didn't taste right, okay. And that was the big thing, that they would start to inject real, true cannabis-derived terpenes, and that didn't work. It just didn't taste right. And finally, someone came up with a method to do une formulation des terpènes hybrides. Un pourcentage de la terpène, c'est le botanical, et l'autre pourcentage, c'est le cannabis derived. Okay. And that was really good. And that's probably the top quality distillate that will be coming next in Canada, because they just haven't figured it out yet. I've had them for years. It's like old news already, like, okay, when you're ready, we're following that learning curve, right? We can't go from here to here. We can't go from distillate to 90U whole plant, fresh, frozen, single source 90U live rosin. Canada's just not ready. Canada still has to go through and learn about distillate. Everyone has to try it and realize what they can use it for, and then find another product until they get to that echelon where we're all going to get, which is us all smoking, high quality BHO, live resin, and really nice full melts and hashes and stuff that we put in our peaks, the stuff that I smoke. Mm-hmm. We're all going to get there. We all had to, I went through it. It just happened to me years ago. I went through my shatter days. I'll show you old pictures of my rigs and the way that we used to do it on titanium nails. Like, we were like cavemen back then, but we were all experimenting. And like, I was learning from like real pioneers of the industry from California and in Barcelona. And it's, I was just in the right place at the right time, with around the right people, just as this kind of cannabis, culture was kind of just exploding into the public from hiding behind closed doors for so many years, So if maybe people have questions about the distillate, but, in my opinion, a distillate with a good cannabis derived hybrid will be my favorite thing when it comes out. Right now, with a nice botanical terpene, with a good blend that tastes good, with a high quality distillate, all day long. $30 all day long.
Maintenant, question rapide par rapport à ça, avant d'enchaîner peut-être sur d'autres types de concentrés. Pourquoi ces produits-là sont disponibles juste chez Mendo Cannabis, puis pourquoi la province contrairement aux autres provinces du Canada, nous interdit ça. N'hésitez pas à faire la commande, point d'exclamation Mendo dans le chat. Si vous voulez vous inscrire chez Mendo, n'hésitez pas à utiliser le code Blackpool également. Merci à tous ceux qui le font.
I don't necessarily disagree with the reasons why certain things aren't sold in Quebec. I think at some point the laws will change depending on the government. However, I believe the reasons why are just in terms of them wanting to protect young people from starting cannabis too soon. And I've read a lot of studies and spoken to a lot of different people about the effects of cannabis on young people and underdeveloped minds. And Quebec can barely handle the regulated market as it is. I don't think that's
La semaine passée,
really have a chance to be successful only dealing with a monopoly right now.
Last week, we had le Larry qui était ici la semaine passée et qui nous parlait qu'à l'école de sa fille, ils ont trouvé un groupe d'environ 10 jeunes dont la mère fournissait des vape pens du black market à ce jeune-là, mais que c'était de la wax qu'il y avait dedans, justement, à 60, 70 peut-être, on sait pas, % de THC, sans savoir ce qu'il y a dedans parce que ça vient du black market, est-ce qu'il y a de la vitamine E, etc. Tu penses pas qu'en légalisant, justement, puis en permettant d'avoir une espèce de marché contrôlé de ces produits-là à la SQDC, il y aurait moins de chances que des choses comme ça arrivent? Non? Ou tu penses que si on donnait accès à ça au Québec à la SQDC, les jeunes seraient exposés un petit peu plus? Parce que ce que j'essaie de comprendre, c'est que c'est vraiment les produits en haut de 30% qui sont interdits, qui fait que si on n'a pas ça, que la rosine, on n'a pas ça, du shader, on n'a pas ça. C'est quoi le lien entre le 30% et plus et le fait que les jeunes commenceraient?
Well, it's kind of an arbitrary number, 30% THC. I don't know really how they came up with that number on why we're going to stop it exactly at 30%. I smoke a joint of some really strong indica, and I do a dab of some really strong live resin that's 92%, 12% terpenes. How different do you feel, BP? Do you feel the difference in THC content when you do a big dab? Or you would think, oh, this is 23% and this is 80%. I'm gonna pass out. I'm gonna not be able to control the high that is about to hit me, right? It's a different experience.
It's like,
in fact, you don't even get, sometimes you smoke a joint just to get, because you really want to get, it's a different high, right?
It's like the difference between drinking a Bloody Caesar or having 3 shots of tequila, I guess, something like this. But really, not that knockout effect of the tequila. It's not the best example.
Now it's just a matter, the answer is education, right? And the people making the decisions not really understanding what are they doing that because we don't want people, that's too much THC. You know, we're going to have people as zombies walking down our streets and like zombies if they're all smoking shatter and all things like that, right? You know, so putting a cap on that is absolutely ridiculous. The vape pens I can understand. You know, the vape pens are very attractive to young people. I wouldn't want, you know, I wouldn't want my son to be, you know, having vape pens at school and things like that, or they're so easily accessible to kids, you know. But you know, I can argue both ways, back and forth. I don't even want to get into that. We can go so many hours just talking about regulations. But I think Quebec will come around at one point. The reason that, to answer your question now, the reason that Mendo is able to offer Quebec patients access to other methods of consumption other than smoking a joint. And, you know, I don't talk often about the members who we have that are terminally ill, who have chronic pain that is debilitating and doesn't allow them to go to work. People who are barely getting by on 10, 15, $20,000 per year in government aid only, and don't have access to the type of cannabis that they need. And they don't want to take painkillers and they don't want to take opiates. And this is why the Medicibus family, from the beginning, the name of the official LP is Medicibus. This was always going to be a medical company. It was always the intention from the beginning, even before they even met me. It was always going to be a medical company. To be able to provide that now to our neighbors, our friends, our family, our Quebecois, that's what these people wanted to do. That's really why I joined them. I had I had choices on what I could have done, but I knew that in 5 years we were going to be able to build something out of Saint Jean that is going to eventually go global. That we're going to expand into Europe, and obviously first the rest will conquer Canada first, you know.
You're available now. You're available coast to coast now, or
yeah, at this time we do ship coast to coast. And you know, we had an idea of how many patients we wanted to have by January 1st, 2022. And I think we had met that goal in the first 19 days that we were open.
Okay. Wow.
You know, back in September.
Nice.
And we knew right away, because we knew that if we built a menu, not only of all the sought after brands and products from across the country that everybody wants, but a quality menu at a really good price and value. And by working with all these smaller LPs that have no path to market for their flower, and being able to take their flower and package it in our house brand and put it out in 14 and 28 gram offerings and offer it in a range of $4 to $6 a gram for real quality flower that in the regulated market could go upwards of $8 to $14 a gram outside of Quebec. Quebec happens to have a lower average per gram rate to the rest of Canada, about 20% cheaper here than anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I think the SQDC is doing a fantastic job of giving people access, and companies like Canara and Ceres, and you know, I could name so many more that are putting out fantastic flower at really unbelievable prices that are really taking business away from, I believe, from the black market, because the quality is there, the ease and accessibility. You walk into a store and bing, bang, boom, and you're out, and you know, you got it, or your pre-roll, and you light it up as you walk out on the streets. Fantastic. I never thought I would like pre-rolls either until that trip to Toronto, and then I took a few home, and even those little 0.35s, they really came in handy at certain moments, you know.
Yeah. It's one of the biggest growing market, I guess, in the industry right now, the pre-rolls. Back to distillate.
Yeah, I mean,
can I ask
after? Yeah, go ahead, please.
Solvent and solventless.
Yes. So people will say distillate is solvent free. That's the word that they used to use on it, because there was no actual. Once something is distilled and it comes through and it's pure, there is a 0.00 ppm of any solvent left in it. So is distillate solventless? It was extracted with an ethanol extraction, which is a solvent, put through a distillation machine, purified pure. This is true purified oil now. So is it solventless, or what do you think?
They
What
use
do
a
you, what do the
solvent.
people in the comments think? Let's ask the comment section,
Well, the
because it's been a
process use a
debate. It's
solvent.
been a big debate for years.
The
It's been a big
process
debate
to
for
use
years.
the solvent, so there's some trace left in it, I guess. That's not what we want.
And we'll talk about BHO and how safe that is too, and the common misconception.
Okay. When you're ready, my friend. Quand tu veux.
So we were talking about that ultimate distillate that would have the hybrid blend of terpenes. Now, distillate, let's say the starting material was hemp. So now I've extracted all the CBD from the hemp, and I've put it into an oil, and I put it into a pen. Now, the problem that we learned right away is that when you put pure CBD oil into a pen, do you know what happens, BP?
Crystallize, something like that.
Crystallizes, exactly. Crystallizes. They said they call it crashing. So it's very difficult to find a 100% pure CBD pen. Pura Vida had one. We're sold out right now, the CBD Earth. There's a lot of people that are missing it right now, including me, because it didn't crystallize. They were able to activate the CBD in a way of their proprietary system where it didn't crystallize. And they were still using a very high quality CBD isolate blend. So that's why, you'll see companies do a 1-to-1 or a 4-to-1 distillate THC to CBD, because it doesn't crystallize. And that's it for distillate. The next thing that we were talking about was CO2 extraction, and the CO2 extraction gave a nice oil, and they were using it in California for a long time in PAX pods. It was always CO2 extraction because it was full spectrum, right? So we were getting more taste of the plant, the real strain specific effects. It wasn't perfect, the oil was kind of dark, it was like brown sludge to start. You couldn't get that golden oil out because it was never winterized, and all that stuff was never removed from the plant.
Okay.
And then something amazing happened, and people figured out that they could use butane to remove the cannabinoids in a way that we'd never have before, and isolate everything into a beautiful clear oil, and remove everything else. And we're able to filter it through different mediums, and make a real resin. And it was always done with dried flowers. So this is before anything was fresh frozen.
Okay. Je dois demander,
right?
I gotta ask, is this linked to this old school method of using butane from
Yeah. Okay. So well, the real pioneers built their own closed loop system, right? Where all the butane was contained. There was no chance of it coming into contact and catching fire. But yeah, there were people at home who wanted to make their own shatter. So they would have these big glass tubes about this thick, and it had a little hole at the bottom of the glass, and it was kind of pointu at the bottom and round at the top. And then they would take cans of butane and they would shoot it down, and all the oil that came out into the pan that they collected, there was a pan underneath. They could put it in an oven, all the butane would cook away, and what was left was their shatter. And that's open blasting.
Yeah, that's super
When you do it outside in your backyard, it's okay.
Faites pas ça, c'est dangereux.
But when you do it in your basement with the doors closed,
don't do this.
You blow up the entire house.
Yeah, don't do this.
And there's been a lot. You can Google BHO explosions, and it was very scary. This is like 2010.
People were making this in the 90s, if I remember. I guess there was also this naphtha oil, that greenish stuff that were sold in Cap
So
beer. Ouais,
so
ouais,
when it
ouais.
was done in that when it was done right, that's, people just started making shatter. It was easy. You would, you'd pour out all your oil onto a pan. It was all bubbling. It's all bubbling up and bubbling, and all the butane is purging from it. And that's what Instagram videos were back in the day. It was just people pouring their shatter. Like that was the shot,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
pouring the shatter and watching it bubble, putting it into the oven
Mhm.
for a 24 to 48-hour purge. And there were some good shatter makers out there, some really, really good shatter makers that are now, have their own LPs and things like that, who pioneered the industry. And that's what Reddit was before. It was all these guys talking back and forth about ideas and how to do this better, and what was the purge time, and their stuff started to pop up at Le Croix Vert in Quebec. I've been a member with them, 20 years more, 25 maybe. So they used to get all these shatters, like phyto extractions was like really big at one time in medical. They're in the legal market now, but then after a few years, phyto became kind of a joke, and Thompson Caribou and all these brands that were making great stuff. And we never had anything in a jar, right? It was like it didn't exist at that time. And eventually people started to kind of, mash up their shatter and kind of liquefy it and stir it up and make their first kind of sauces started to come out and things like that. And that's when people started to just purify the oil, and eventually people froze their cannabis. Imagine the first guy to take his amazing flower and
Ouais.
and risk it and freeze it in minus 40 to see what
Ouais.
would happen, right? So that preserved so much more of the terpenes, and then we were able to extract live resin and put it into cartridges eventually. And that was a full spectrum, higher cannabinoid content, higher terpene content, so better flavor, better effects on your body you'll get from a live resin, And there's some good brands out there right now, that are doing it. But the reason why it's so much more expensive, maybe $20 or $15 a cartridge more expensive, is because when you do BHO, you're working with whole plant flower. You're not using trim and garbage. You're using the good stuff,
High quality, yeah.
and you're not yielding very much, in terms of how much oil you get. So it's expensive, to make a live resin cart right now, and it's really expensive to make a really good one, because if you don't make it right again, they can turn to diamonds, it can crash. So when you take a live resin oil and you put it into a mason jar right as it's come out of the oven before it's activated, and you leave it to cure, diamonds will form at the bottom.
Okay.
And then usually the next step is to separate the sauce from the diamonds, and then you weigh out your grams of diamonds, and then you add the sauce on top and you stir it up, and you got your live resin FSC. They call it full spectrum extract, or they'll call it live resin THCA diamonds, or they'll call it caviar,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and things like that. So it's all the same. All right, it's all a BHO extraction, where the live resin is crashed into THCA, which is a really strong form of THC. And when THCA is combusted, it converts back to regular THC, which gives you that a really big hit. So there hasn't been some really good diamonds. I don't think any of us have really got to try out of the regulated market, but it's coming. So when you try a pure THCA diamond, you'll know it. You'll know
Okay.
it. When you
Okay.
crush it, if you were to crush it, it would turn into like a white dust, a white powder. There was a brilliant man, and we'll talk about him again one day. And he's passed away last year, and we don't know how. And his name was Horatio Delbar. And Horatio Delbar was an artist when it came to cannabis extraction. And if you guys get a chance to Google Horatio Delbar and read his story and what he's done, he was able to make an extraction using the terpene limonene as the solvent.
Okay.
Think about that, right?
Yeah.
So he was able to first, he had to make his own limonene and extract it and have enough of it to use to remove the cannabinoids from the plant.
Okay.
And it was called LHO.
Limonene.
LHO instead of BHO because it was limonene hash oil.
Okay.
And this was the most sought after gram. If you could get this jar in Canada, like, you were so lucky, because he was just one man who did it. He did it for his own health. He did it for his friends. And if you were lucky enough to get one, you had an experience like no one will ever have on this planet again. And that shows you the capabilities of what people can do with the cannabinoids. So that's a real solvent. He used the solvent is not only the material that we're talking about here, but it's also the method of extraction. You're using a solvent to extract the cannabinoids from the plant. When I'm doing an ice water extraction, what's the solvent? It's the ice and the water being used to remove it from the plant. So is that a solvent can be water, it can be anything. It's just whether or not, people are worried that there's going to be butane. There's more butane that you're inhaling right now in the air where you're sitting than can be found in any extract that you're going to find in, honestly, 100% of the rec market and most of the black market, if you know where you're getting it and who's making it. Because even the Health Canada standard for how much ppm is allowed of butane in your shatter in Canada is 5,000 ppm. 5,000 ppm. Anyone who's made shatter, on their worst day, when they fell asleep at the wheel and crashed their car into the extraction machine, and the butane poured over into everything, by the time they were done with it, if their shatter had 100 ppm, they'd be freaking out. How the hell did I fuck up so bad? In Canada allows 5,000 ppm. I certainly hope not. I certainly hope nobody is that incompetent that there's anything out there that has anything close to that, because that's an insane amount of butane.
Makes no sense.
In your shatter.
Du limonène, Will, c'est un des terpènes, dans le fond, on peut retrouver dans le cannabis ou dans d'autres plantes également. C'est une des molécules qu'on retrouve directement dans le cannabis, puis qui est utilisée, dans ce que Jay expliquait, comme solvant pour extraire, bref, les autres molécules. C'est assez insane. But is it limonene from exactly the genetic that he was extracting, or?
No,
it's like just
he got it in nature.
Okay.
He got it in nature.
That's insane. Why did Colorado increase their limit from 800 to 5,000 then?
Yeah, that's a great question. I saw that too. Mm-hmm. I still can't believe that anyone would even be at 800, let alone need space to go higher on that scale. So we have to keep a close eye on that and see and find out why. And I'm going to look more into it, and I'll find out and get back to you, because that is doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me why.
It's weird.
It just doesn't make sense. And that's where we're going. People are on Mendo are trying out extracts for the first time. So what's the best way to experiment, right? The best way to experiment is to buy a product that's, on the lower end of the pricing, like a crumble or a shatter. Not everyone has a Puffco Peak at home. Not everyone has a glass rig with a blowtorch and a banger. So most people will start just like I started, with a twist off, pen that has a chamber, like a ceramic chamber or a quartz chamber. And I'll put some crumble in there and I'll close it up and I'll heat it up and the coil will heat and I'll inhale it and it'll get dirty and it's, they're not the best machines, but eventually I'll want something better, just like I did, right? I started with that and then I went to some horribly ugly China glass that I had and a banger that and some cheap blowtorch, and I wasn't doing it right and it was just trial and error. But now there's so much information, right, on the internet and Google and how to take a cold start dab and really make it easy on yourself. And people will take the crumble and sprinkle it into a joint and just get used to extracts and what extracts are and start to understand them and how you can realize that in time, it's actually saving you a lot of money, where just a small little dab can go a long way, right? It can go a long way. And
you gotta get used to
the flavor, you can get used to it, right?
I mean, when you first start to get used to those little vape pens or to dab, and you're used to putting something, I don't know, like the intensity of smoking a joint, you cannot do this on the vape pen like this because you're gonna choke and
right.
You're gonna be
yeah. The vape pen has its place, whether you want to sneak a quick one in the bathroom when you're in a restaurant with your family and go back to the dinner table, or you want to just walking downtown, or it's just convenient. They have their place, right? Is it going to get you high? Is it your daily driver? No, of course not. It's a supplement, right? A vape pen is a supplement. It's not going to replace your flower. It's not going to replace your dabs. It's kind of an in-betweener.
It's impressive to see where we're at in the industry to have such kind of product and where we're going, though.
So many choices, right? For different occasions.
Let's. I think we're getting there, but how do we get to this beautiful product, which is ash rosin, from just pressing and doing nothing else?
Well, most people on the planet Earth go through that same process that I went through. Sauf toi, BP.
That's what happened.
You went from 0 to 60 in 0.5 seconds.
Using great gear.
You went from smoking
the G-Pen Connect.
No dabs to smoking the highest quality extract made in Canada right now. And I love you. and you, if anyone deserves it, it's you.
Okay.
So in California, there was a guy named Nika T, and he's still around, and he's a great guy, and I've met him, and I actually was lucky enough to be in the room when he made some hash, and he's very close with Frenchie, different spectrum of how they like to argue, Frenchie said that water is a solvent, and Nika T was the first one to call it solventless.
Okay.
So Nika T, and he wasn't the first one, but with the fresh frozen flower, he kept that frozen flower at, I gotta like this joint. Bonne fumette, tout le monde?
Bonne fumette, les poulettes.
Bonne fumette, les poulettes. I hope I'm not boring everybody here.
No, that's super interesting, man. There's 90 people listening carefully.
Cool. All right. So he took that fresh frozen and said, how can I harvest just the glands of the plant? Just the glands, and get rid of everything else. And we know Bubble Man and all these guys who made all our bubble bags and how we make hash. So we take that fresh frozen flour and we mix it with ice and water, and we stir it with our canoe paddle, and we stir it and we stir it, and all the agitation and the cold ice is going to remove the heads from the stalk of the plant, right? And then we're going to take our big garbage pail bucket Rubbermaid, and we're going to pour it into another Rubbermaid that has all our micron level.
You know that I do my own
right?
hash, right? I got my
Exactly.
machine and all that.
We know how you do it, right?
We do it also in a in a cement machine with Momo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Momo's doing the cement machine. I've seen it in the little mini washing machines, portable washing machines, and then obviously, we collect the good stuff, right? We collect the 40U, then we collect the 73U, then we collect the 90U, and then we collect the 110, 104, 120, depending on which company is making the bags. And now one of those bags has the best heads, right? Yep. One of those bags has the best heads. It's usually the 90 or the 120. Most people will mix the 90 and 120 together because the head size, and how healthy it is and what strain we're doing. We don't know which actual micron is going to harvest the full melt, right? Because a very small percentage of what we're going to collect from that extraction is going to be real full melt if we did it properly. And by real full melt, I mean, once that hash is collected in the spoon and tap, tap, tap onto the parchment paper and put into the freeze dryer, and then 24 or 36 hours, we take it out. And now it's, all that hash is freeze dried. If it's really nice, it'll be sticky and you can almost bend it. And there's pictures of people pulling it apart and you see the heads exploding in slow motion. And there's nothing more beautiful than, that state when the hash it's just the heads, right? We've removed everything else and all we have are the trichomes and the real medicine and what we want to put in our bodies.
Ash pouring, yeah.
And what percentage of the weight of that bud was removed, right? We're lucky if we get, a 3%, 4%, 5% return on the weight versus the flour we put in, right? That's why live rosin is so expensive, the good stuff. Mm-hmm. Even in California, like a gram of that 90U, $150 a gram. $150 a gram US. You want to smoke the best hash, that's what you're paying.
Okay.
All day long. So now we test it. Okay, we proved it's full melt. And the full melt has to stay frozen at all times. Because if it doesn't stay frozen, it's going to all melt together into something that will never look good again. So right now it's sand. I have a jar of sand, but it's actually just trichomes.
Yeah.
And you can dab it like that. And as long as you get it at the right temperature, where just that head just pops on the banger. Okay. And otherwise, if it's too hot, it just chars to black and you don't get the flavor and you ruined it. But if you get that temperature just right on that full melt powder, which is just the heads, and you hit that banger at the right temperature and it just melts into a water and you inhale that vapor, you haven't lived or tried cannabis until you've had that.
It's like he's talking about having sex for the first time.
Yeah. I hope I was able to express it with passion there, because that...
Oh my God, yes.
Can you imagine just inhaling just the pure essence of the gland, of the trichome head, with nothing else giving any flavor or effect on your body? Nothing, just the pure... So a friend of mine makes it, and mine, after the powder, after a few days, we say it greases up. It becomes one block, a little square. And then when you take it out of the fridge, like I just did now, and leave it at room temperature, when you scoop it, it would be like scooping up, I don't even know how to describe it. like a sticky sand. Okay, this is
Yeah, okay.
it, right? Let me see if we could.
That's good. That's kind of good.
Yeah, there. You
Oh,
can see
yeah,
how
yeah,
it's kind
yeah.
of greased up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I leave it at room temperature, and then let's say I take my dab tool and I scrape it up, it's like almost like a not loose. It's hard, but like a taffy,
Okay,
like
okay, okay.
caramel. You know, like if you were to scoop up caramel, like it wouldn't break it. Like you have to like wrap it around.
It's beautiful, man.
That's that's the full melt. So now we found
Almost
our
like
full melt.
cheese.
Yeah. Now we found our full melt. Now with the rest, we're gonna take all that sand, right?
Mhm.
We'll call it sand, all those trichomes, and we're gonna fill les poches avec un micron aussi. Okay, so whatever those microns are on these bubble, but what are they called? Just your press bags or whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So we're filling up, all these bags. We make all our bags. Now we have our press. Okay, we're going to do it at 110 degrees for 90 seconds. And we're going to put parchment down on the top and the bottom of the press and kind of build it like a cone going down. And then we're going to put our bags in. We're going to apply our pressure. All those heads are going to explode into rosin, it's all going to flow down like a river. We're going to collect it, fold over the parchment, put it to the side, do the next bag. At the end of the day, now I have all these folded parchments, pull them apart. You use a tool, you stack it up all into a ball, use the ball to pick up the rest off the parchment. Now you got your beautiful hash ball to the side. And sometimes the hash comes out in more liquid state where as it's pouring, like you can literally catch it in the jar, in your mason jar and just fill it up. And then you can cure it in so many different ways. You can cold cure it. You can use a warming mat to make a jelly. There's so many different things you can do. You can repress it at a certain temperature and actually turn the live rosin into THCA, into a white bar.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
you can do that. Yeah.
Damn.
Where you can make solventless THCA diamonds.
Okay.
But that's all coming, like nobody, look, the majority of people in Quebec right now are making flower rosin. They're just learning about it, right? I used to take my wife's hair straightener.
Yeah. Press.
And I have a vice grip right here on my tool bench. I have a vice grip, and I cracked the thing in half. Anyways, I was able to extract just the plates, and then I was able to, and it was great because we're learning about concentrates. Anyone who's making flower rosin right now, in 5 years, will look back and say, I can't believe I used to smoke flower rosin. Like it's just normal that we're all following that natural path and realizing, because right now, you can make there's really good flower rosin out there. Like there's guys who've dialed it in. You can't tell the difference between flower rosin and live rosin until you smell it or taste it. But by the look, they can get it really nice color and a nice consistency. If we see a darker rosin, it's because there's more of the fats and the lipids and the stuff you don't want to inhale in there. Now, I've still removed all the plant material, so that's good. I'm not smoking that. So it's definitely less, other, we'll call them less desirable pieces of the plant that we're consuming. And we'll all, like we said, it's just going to follow that natural curve. We're going to go from distillate. CO2 we're going to skip in Canada because we've already figured go right to BHO. Everyone knows that already. BHO is starting to pick up a little bit now with the live resins and the diamonds and things like that. They're going to get better and cheaper eventually and tastier. And eventually it's all going to be live rosin. You're not going to want to smoke anything else.
Well, a bit as a question.
When it's done right, you don't
want anything else.
If I had my choice, if right now it's really expensive because it's rare, but if BP and me had our choice and we could have all the best live rosin, and that's all we needed to smoke along with really nice flour,
Yeah, it's
yeah, we
totally
wouldn't smoke
different.
any other extracts.
Yeah. Will there be more flour or ash rosin on Mendo? Question from Wabbit.
There will, yes, there are more rosin is coming from a company called, this is just confirmed now, Lady Jane Extracts. And they're making really high quality live rosin. And we'll have some samples coming in next week. And then we're going to probably make a nice order with them. We also have from Big in Ontario, BIG, they're coming back with their Bubba Kush, I think it is. I think it's their Kush rosin now, and to replace the fruit rosin that we sold out of. And they're also going to have Big Diamonds. So there's going to be a extract called Big Diamonds and Big Resin. So 3 new products from Big, and the Lady Jane is coming. Earthworld Farms, probably in the new year,
That's
or the end of December.
That's the stuff that you got me at Toronto.
That's the high CBG one, rather. Yeah.
Yeah, that's from Heartwood Farm, right?
Yeah.
This is so good.
Earth Wolf.
This is like smoking a fucking pine tree directly.
Looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Looks like amber.
Yeah.
So that's the state of cannabis right now in Canada is right where it should be. You know, all the products that are available are the products that people are really ready for. There's nobody, you know, only a very small percentage say, oh, I wish there were, you know, higher quality dabs or higher quality live. Well, no, there's no company that can afford to make that and sell it because there's not enough people that buy it. There's just not enough people that have gotten there yet. They're just starting with extracts right now. You know, they've never been available to people. People are just starting, and we're seeing that even in the Discord, right? In our group,
yep.
You know, we see people, you know, moving to it and experimenting and trying it. And I think extracts also, for people who've never done them, also have a little bit taboo. You know, I think, you know, they could be sometimes a little intimidating or.
Ça, c'est la faute à Momo, ça. It's Momo fault, man. He's always saying, c'est trop fort pour toi, touche pas ça.
Yeah, you know, and it's not about that. I think it's more concentrated flavor and cannabinoids, but it's not a concentrated effect. I'm not getting 40% higher. You know, it's just a different high. It's a different feeling and a different effect that's really enjoyable because the experience is nice when it's done well.
Yeah.
Right? Years ago when we dabbed, it was all people doing, all Instagram was people doing 1,000 Fahrenheit dabs with 8 buckets connected to their rig. You know, it was all about who can do the biggest dab and the hottest dab. And people were, that was never me, you know. It was always about the flavor and the experience and finding a method to do it in a way that was enjoyable, where you didn't cough, right? Because nobody wants to take that huge hit and cough and explode. Like, that's how dabs used to always be before we learned how to dab properly. We didn't know what the right temperatures were. We didn't know that the boiling points of all the cannabinoids. If you're doing it too hot, well, if THC burns off at 500 or 450 degrees and you're doing it at 800 degrees, then by the time you know, you're not getting all the cannabinoids. And, you know, so for where Canada is right now, we're right on target. You know, we have some really, really good flower coming. We're so lucky at how quickly the market fixed itself, right? Compared to what people were putting out 2 years ago. We're seeing a lot of micros with amazing new genetics. We have so much coming. I can't even explain, or I don't know if I should even get into it right now, but there are so many great small LPs in Quebec, across Canada, that have nothing, that they're growing such great cannabis, and they don't have the money to get it into a government store. Because in order to get it into a government store, just one SKU could cost up to $1 million, because after all the expenses of growing the product and doing everything and getting it packaged and then getting it chosen and then boxed up and shipped to the SQDC or the OCS, and then not getting your money till for a while, not getting your money for a while. By now you have to keep growing and spending more money and then shipping another package before you even got paid from your first. So to have the capital to run until the money starts to come in, most people can't do it. So I've had growers that were in tears saying, "Can you can take our flour?" I'm like, "Yeah, I can take all your flour, everything that you grow, like everything that you grow for your micro. Every month you ship it to me, I take it all. I'm your government store, I'll take it. You grow amazing stuff." And they have a genetic library. They're in the Kootenay part of BC. Their family's been cultivating cannabis for like 7 generations in the mountains,
Okay.
like they're real cannabis growers, They're like, "Yeah, we had the first cut of Bubba Kush." I mean, what do you mean you had the first cut of Bubba Kush? "Yeah, Bubba Kush, that's us." I'm like, like the Bubba Kush that spread throughout the entire world that started being cut with every single different indica out there. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and they used to own medical shops in BC and things like that were running kind of in the gray market there. The government allowed them to run, and they were wonderful people. They're just hippies and they just grew cannabis. They weren't necessarily businessmen. And we brought in their flour, and it was Nukem Sour Diesel. And they called it Sour Nukem. Right, Sour Nukem. But it was a cross of Nukem and Sour Diesel. And we were at Great White North using their R&D license. And we opened up all the bags. And for some reason, that one, like, we saved for last. We opened that bag, and the place exploded with the loudest, dankest stink that I don't even think I'm even going to be able to ship this flour. Even if I vacuum seal it and close it in the bag, it's going to smell through. Like, your mail is going to smell.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if it's going to make it to you. It might get stopped and it's strong sativa hybrid. And with something really people have been asking us for, is a really nice strong sativa hybrid. I think it's okay. The flour, when I took it, I mean, by the time it gets processed and everything, and obviously we try to keep it as fresh as possible by the time it gets to you. But the sample that we got, the bud, I could just take the bud and stick it to the wall, and it just stuck there.
That's
it just stuck to the wall.
Wow.
And I told them, they said, we have a small space. We can grow this many kilos per cycle. So I said, why don't you grow 4 strains for us? Okay, keep growing your Nukem Sour Diesel, keep growing these 3 others that we'll choose together. And then we'll have 4 strains that come from you that are all fire, and at a price that we can really, really do well for the quality. And that's what we do. And then we move on to the next. And now we have that supply agreement with them. And now we've moved on to another LP in Quebec right now that is waiting to get their sales license. They have some really great flour that's just sitting in their vault. It's not going to go to the SQDC one day. That was their first few test runs. They tested over 20%. It tested really high terpenes. It's caked and gorgeous, and it's a beautiful strain. And we said, guys, let us try some. We'll put it on the site. People like it, and it's great. I'll come back. I'll buy all the rest from you, and away we go. And you guys can monetize and have some cash going until the SQDC starts taking your stuff next year, or man, you don't get paid till maybe February, March, God forbid, April. At least you'll have some money, and Anything else that you grow that, let's say, the SQDC doesn't take, or this LP in Toronto, the OCS only took half their crop. So what's he going to do with the other half? He's got kids to feed, Let Mendo come in, we'll take it, we'll put it on our platform, and away we go. So why you haven't been seeing a lot of new containers of 3.5s coming? And there will be coming, the ghost drops and cookies and all these things will eventually come. And those are great. They're going to be expensive. We're a medicinal company. If people want to buy ghost drops and cookies and love the hype and the flower is great. Flower is going to be excellent. Mm-hmm. My opinion, cannabis should never be more than $10 a gram, no matter what the strain. That's just what I feel personally. Sometimes I pay more because I have no choice. But in my opinion, the most cannabis should ever cost is $10 a gram. Most.
Okay.
Most.
Okay.
$70 a quarter. That's it. But in larger formats, I got a message from a Discord member today that said, will you be doing the house brand in smaller bags? And I said, well, what size were you thinking? And he said 5 or 7, because sometimes 14 is too much. I don't smoke that much. Mm-hmm. I don't know what everyone's opinion is on that. I would love to know, in the chat, what your opinion is, if there should be a 5 or a 7 gram bag. The cost would be more because I'd be bagging more bags per gram, right? So it would cost more in a smaller amount. Or do you think 14 and then take 2 for 120 or take 2 for 140 like we have on all our 14s, where you save $10 on $5 on each bag, which I think is a good mix and match option. So we're just still trying to fine tune where that sweet spot is. If there was a very limited drop, let's say, Lot 420 did a pheno hunt and he has 2 kilos of some crazy fire and he's like, Jason, do you want it? And I maybe I'll put it in small amounts so I can get the most out of it and everyone can get a try. If I put in 14s, less people get to try it. That I would think would be better for a 5 or 7 gram, would be like a limited time special, strain of the month kind of thing that doesn't come around ever again.
There's Valak asking for a kit découverte with full of different 1 gram. Why don't you do something about the 30 day of Christmas? And
So we had this conversation last month. I said to Jose, wouldn't it be great to do the advent calendar,
Yeah.
And put a gram in each one or a joint in each one.
I thought about doing something like this.
And I've seen it before. It's a great idea, but it took 60 days to get the government approval on the packaging and the labels. We didn't have enough time. So we said, well, maybe we'll do comme une boîte cadeau. We'll buy beautiful red boxes, and we'll put different. We'll put on a menu, take any 6 products from this category. And then you can take a little bit of edibles, a little bit of vape pens, and build your own.
Okay.
Cadeau.
Build your own self-gift.
Yeah.
Gift for yourself.
And then it was just too much, too fast, to get it done in time. So next year, or maybe at Valentine's Day, we'll do something.
Next year's. Are you ready maybe for some question? Because I feel that a lot of people, y a beaucoup de gens
qui ont I am. Let's definitely move to some questions.
Great. I'm going to go get some water. Give me a few minutes. Les gens dans le chat, préparez vos questions, c'est le temps.
I'm taking over the stream. I'm taking over. Should we do a dab? Right? Do a dab in the peak. I think we'll do a little dab together. How about some GMO? Little GMO in the peak. So
Merci.
are these questions coming from the Discord or
Ben,
from the
I guess they're gonna come from the chat most of the time. I don't know if some people would like to come in vocals with me, but Jay is not on the Discord right now.
I can get on there on my tablet here.
You won't.
I can bring up the Discord.
Je vais prendre un Français dans son équipe quelque temps. Est-ce que vous engagez des stagiaires, des choses comme ça? Est-ce qu'il y a des offres d'emploi chez Mendo Cannabis?
Yeah. Oh, see, there's Lima who posted the rosin press with the grips. That was the best with the 2 hot plates. That's old school right there.
Yeah.
Old school or new school to some people, but either way, it works really well. So I don't know if there's anything in the Discord.
It's
not much action there.
It's a vocal channel. It's the last one, La Fumette. It's just me right now.
Yeah. Will Smith and Wesson just posted a nice picture of some flower rosin.
Yeah. Ok, so si vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas chat. It's time. Yourself, I guess the sub. How often do you work out? God, The Flight, tu peux, mais c'est ça, Mendo, il t'entendra pas pour l'instant. You will need to join the channel if you want to hear the vocal question, Mendo. Jay.
Oh, yeah, let's go. Sorry.
And just use the... I'm going to give you the ability to speech, actually. Let me do that. Can you just use the raise hand show request or something? Raise hand option at the bottom. I'm gonna give you the ability to speak. And then I'm gonna mute you. And we're gonna take the live question. That's it. I'm gonna do this. Then you click on accept. Sorry, it's complicated.
Which should I mute? Mute the Twitch?
I'm gonna mute the Discord, I guess. So yeah, you just click accept on Discord, and then I'm gonna do this, and you should be able to hear me on Discord. You can mute me at some place if you hear me in double.
Yeah, man, I hear you just fine. You guys can hear me okay now?
Yep. So
yep. I'm good.
Excellent.
I
got a bad
return.
You got a bad return?
Yeah, mute me at the opposite place, please.
I'll mute you in the opposite place. Okay.
Yeah.
Feedback.
Right.
Test. So that's not gonna work.
No, that's too bad. All right, well, you can take the questions. I'll hear them through the Twitch.
Okay, I'm gonna repeat them. La mouche, tu lèves ta main et puis je prends ta question. Même chose, Reaper, si tu veux poser une question dans le chat, n'hésitez pas, on va vous lire aussi. Quelle est la température parfaite pour dabber avec le Pico? What is the perfect temperature to dab with the Pico?
Right, so I guess it depends on the desired effect and the product that you're using. So for me, did I bring my phone in here to show you? No. For me, I like to dab at about 550 degrees on my peak for rosin. If it's the full melt, probably at like 470 degrees, because I don't want to char the heads too much. And I set the peak for about 1 minute and 30 seconds on the timer before it shuts off. So you can, some people do it for longer, hotter, or less. People also believe that the hotter the dab, the stronger the effects. And I agree. So some people will go, they only have a little bit of extract left. They'll set the peak to like white, the hottest temperature, or at least what it used to be was white was the hottest. And they'll hit that dab really hot and hurty. And yeah, to the point that your eyes are tearing and watering, and right to the dome, you know?
Mhm.
So about 550, 500, 550 is a good
550.
temperature. And if you want to really hit a hard and you can handle the heavy smoke, then you can hit it at like 700. You don't want to go over 700 degrees, but 700, yeah, you're going to feel it.
And you always go like 3 seconds and you spit it out. You don't like hit it and keep it and.
No, I sip it, you know, I sip it like I'm drinking a beer. You know, it's enjoyable. I could take a big hit and hold it in and cough and shred my throat and I'll be uncomfortable for hours. I don't want that.
Okay.
I'm an old man.
There was a question from Epic. Les crèmes de THC qui gèlent la peau, est-ce que ça fait partie des distillés et comment ça marche? Parce qu'il y a ça aussi chez Mendo, hein, les bulles de bain, les crèmes, les topiques qu'on appelle.
For the THC and CBD molecule is too big to penetrate your skin. CBD topicals for a rash, something that is above the dermis, above the skin, like a rash or a cut or something that you want to heal, or a bump or a wart or a burn, a surface, you know, that a topical is definitely going to treat really well with an isolate or a distillate, like a bath bomb or a cream or a gel. But to go deep into the muscle, to penetrate the muscle, it's not happening. So there's creams out there that say CBD relief, muscle and joint pain relief and things like that. But most of it isn't penetrating the skin, going deep enough to get into the body to really treat anything. However, and I'm not plugging Mendo or a product right now. We're talking as friends.
It's informational.
Yeah. There's a technology where the THC molecule and the CBD molecule can be broken down into a nanoparticle. A nanoparticle is the fraction of the molecule that exists in its standard state. But that same molecule can be spun around so fast that it kind of just separates and turns into these nanoparticles. This is so good. It's so fucking good. When it hits your lips. I love hash. Hashy hash hash. Down in my body. Makes me feel good.
Beauty police.
That's going to be a meme.
What's the difference between BHO and ESO extract other than the solvent?
I will answer that question. I'm just going to finish off.
Yeah, sorry. I'm so stoned and I can't even follow.
So the nanotechnology now, it's so small.
That's what
There's a company called Emprise that we just put onto the site that has the nanoparticles in their creams, which really do penetrate the skin and will give the best relief, in my opinion, of any topical on the market right now. Their CBD gel caps, their fast-acting beverage enhancers. It's all nanotechnology. So when you take their oil or their capsules or their beverage enhancers, you don't wait 90 minutes for the edible to hit. It happens in 10 minutes.
Okay.
And your body, when it's in a nano state, it's not in an oil. Your body is made of water. So when we take an oil or an edible, it has to go through our whole digestive system. It gets broken down in our lower intestines. And whatever's left of the THC or CBD that's in that edible anyway, maybe a small percentage is absorbed because our body doesn't want to absorb oil. So when we're taking a 10 milligram edible, you're not getting 10 milligrams. First of all, by the time it gets to you, the THC has degraded that it's not even 10 milligrams before you eat it anymore. Mm-hmm. THC is in a constant state of degradation. Distillate does not get better with the test of time. It gets worse and worse and worse and loses its potency because it's an oil. But if we can move it into a nano emulsification and encapsulate the molecule so that the THC can't degrade, well, now you can have a THC molecule or CBD molecule that can stay in a container in the pharmacy or the GNC or whatever health food store with my CBD and protein mixed in the powder, and the CBD never degrades. Now we can't make that. Well, we can, but not many people can. So then you can have a real nutraceutical product that can be sold, because CBD eventually is going to go legal, that you can get it anywhere.
Yeah.
You know.
This is the same nano emulsion that the new drink does contain, right? The new that we found on the regular market. Okay.
It has all those products with the nano. It's written in the description, but it's just, we were talking about topicals, and that's why they gave me the idea, because those topicals are the best, because they will absorb, they will give better relief, and your body will actually be able to absorb the cannabinoids. It's not just going to sit on top of your skin, right? Yeah. Super interesting. All right, next question.
Yeah, there was a question about the difference between BHO and ESO extract, other than the solvent.
And maybe BHO and which one?
ESO.
ESO.
Maybe I read it wrong.
Okay.
ESO extract, yeah.
Oh, ISO. Okay, yeah, the isopropyl alcohol.
Alcohol.
Yeah. So with the ethanol extraction or the ISO, now you can almost make all the products that you can make with BHO. You can make shatter with ethanol now and ISO, and you can do it. Except you're doing it at such high temperatures, at such cold, that you're killing off a lot of the plant, you know, that's not surviving the process. You're still extracting in nice amounts, but you're not preserving as much of the true cannabinoids as you will be able to with the butane hash oil. So it's just a more efficient, it's just a more efficient way of doing extractions, both when purged and all the solvent is removed. You know, we'll have different consistencies. You know, people just started making ethanol machines so that they could make shatter because it was cheaper to do it with the ethanol than it would be making BHO. So they said, oh, we can do it too. You know, we can still make shatter, and we can make diamonds and sauce and all this stuff, but it wasn't as good. So nobody does it anymore.
Okay.
You know, so ethanol is really only used to make distillate, is to just strip the material from the plant to make distillate. Nothing else.
Mais oui, effectivement, 10 minutes, les nanos, Mark Chase, c'est le futur un peu de où est-ce que les edibles s'en vont, puis même les topics, j'étais surpris de l'apprendre, je savais pas. Je sais qu'il y a Luc Prévost qui en a parlé dans son podcast Top Pot aussi, il aime bien creuser sur ce sujet-là. D'autres questions, les gens? C'est quoi le meilleur vapo pour le hash et pour le goût? Un vaporisateur pour le hash, c'est tellement quelque chose qu'on me demande beaucoup, ça, Jay. Je sais que toi, tu dis qu'on n'est pas supposé en mettre à moins d'avoir un hash qui serait full melt. Qu'est-ce que tu aurais comme outil à proposer ou comme façon de consommer du hash à nos amis québécois qui veulent pas prendre la bonne vieille cigarette et la bouteille?
I know that's been the question we've been asking ourselves for years, and that's why I sent you a picture of that kettle today, because still to this day people are looking for a way to smoke their hash. So what is the best way to smoke hash? And the answer is in a way that I can't smoke anymore, and I don't recommend anyone to smoke anymore. You break open a DeMaurier, you bit up your hash, you roll it up, and you smoke it. And that's why I don't smoke hash anymore, because I don't smoke cigarettes. I won't smoke a cigarette unless I'm desperate.
Mush, on va avoir
de besoin yet to find a proper way to smoke good hash. When I found, even back in the day, I would never mix hash and cannabis, because I wouldn't be able to get the flavor of the hash that I wanted. The
Yeah.
cannabis would get in the way, you know? I needed something neutral to be the vessel to hold my hash. What am I gonna? I've tried everything, you know,
And just
different types of
in a pipe.
in a pipe, but again, it was okay. So now are we talking about like hard black tremblant hash, or are we talking about like rosin hash and bubble hash?
Whatever, man. The hash that the people can get their hands on is just. People
Yeah.
would like an ND device like this, you know, something that is electric or rechargeable, and they just press a button and it smoke the hash, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. I know for extracts, but I don't know for hash what's the best device out there, you know?
I've seen some stuff like something that could replace the cigarette for a bottle. It's like a Randy Spat EDAB pen, you know, that you could grab your ash bites and just smoke it into a bottle and then puff it, but I don't know. The ash
So
that's it.
you might have seen this, okay? So I got this dab tool and I scoop up my rosin and I press the button to turn it on and it heats up and it drips off. So if I have some hash, couldn't I have an electric hot knife that I could, let's say it came with a glass bottle, okay? And I'd take my ball of hash and I'd put it on the end and I'd insert it into the glass chamber and I'd pull the button and it would, would the hash fall off? Would the hash fall off or
that's exactly what this little EDAB pen is supposed to do, actually.
So that's does it work?
It did work. It's not
enjoyable, right? You want the experience.
Yeah,
right?
I don't know why. It's almost like everybody in the chat seemed to agree that you need fucking cigarettes to smoke ash. Actually, what I do, I just put it on a little bed of cannabis ashes that I smoke in my bong previously, and I light it up in my bong like this, but it's not the best. Like, it's getting gooey, and you need to clean it after a few puff, you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Hopefully the you know, with a good bubble that will melt, like even that Revita, I find that it melts.
It will still left some trace.
Yeah, like I don't think but I mean, did you try it in a pipe just alone?
Yeah, I would not put it in the room or in a puffcore or something like this.
Yeah,
even if it does melt really well, it's like it disappears. But it's not meant for that. It would stick at some place and So I like all the shit.
Interesting.
J'avais avec mon hache avec le Plenty de Stores and Beckle ou fume dans un bong, je l'écrase très mince, je fais des petits trous dedans. Ok. Question! Like, do you remember, I have a question. Do you remember your first time? The first time you smoked cannabis?
Yeah.
Can you tell us?
Sure. This is a great story. Every summer, me and my friends, just as we were growing up, we always went to camp, you know, from the city. We'd go up for 2 months, Saint-Adolphe d'Alward, in Saint-Donat. There was a camp. Yeah. How do you say it?
Saint-Donat.
How do you say it?
Say it. What?
Saint-Donat.
Saint-Donat. Avec de Beauceron accent. Saint-Donat.
Saint-Donat. So we used to go to Saint-Donat, and that last year when we were just from turning 15 to 16, I don't remember what grade we were going into, but we were going to turn 16 that year. It was our last year as campers. The next year when we came back, we were going to be like, they called it CITs. That was like every year, it was a different name for the group you were in. So CITs was counselor in training, you know? You worked with some of the younger kids, you worked in the kitchen, blah, blah, blah. The next year, you were a junior counselor. So this was our last year as campers. And that first night we came home, the older counselors, okay, the guys who were like 17 and 18, said, come out with us tonight. We're going to the Peel Pub. Peel Pub on Peel Street and de Maisonneuve. And there was a big sign. It was a big lineup down. Peel Pub was the place to be in 1990. That's what it was. I think it was 1990, maybe 1991. Yeah, I was 15, right? Born in 75. So I said, how are we going to get into the bar? They said, oh, don't worry, you'll come with us. So these girls, hot, beautiful women that I had no chance of ever having any relationship with, thought we were cute, brought us into the Peel Pub, and we got to drink beer, and then said, hey, let's go back to our apartment. So we get back to their apartment, and we're sitting on the ground, and the Doors is playing in the background, and Jim Morrison he's telling me, this is your night, man, and then the girl pulls out a little dime bag, little plastic baggie, little dime bag, with one bud inside, and she opens the bag and she rolls a joint, and she rolls it. Me and my friend are looking at each other, and we're looking at these two girls that are like 17, 18, and we're like 15, 16. And they light it up, and we smoke it. And I'm trying to, I'm acting normal. I'm cool. I'm Jay. No cringe that night.
Just serious Jay.
Serious Jay. And I start to like look at my hand like this.
Like exactly the effect that your background is making on Zoom.
Yeah. And I start laughing. And laughing. I don't know for how long. Over and over and over again. And people say the first time, that you smoke, you don't get high. I got high. And I've still never felt that way still today as that first time. Because that sensation of not knowing what the effect is or why you feel this way is new. You can never feel that again, right? That experience. I could feel it going through my blood, through my veins. They were all tingling, like from every orifice. Like my sensations. And that's why he was just laughing, because I can't believe that I'm feeling this way.
Mm-hmm.
To the point that the 21-year-old brother came crashing down, grabbed me by the shirt and said, shut the fuck up. I have work tomorrow. Stop fucking laughing. I'll never forget his face. He grabbed me, and that was my first time smoking cannabis.
Do you remember, I guess not, but the strain or something, or what it tasted, or?
That's funny, yeah. No. Because
we had no idea back then.
Even before, it was only, I don't know when it started, but when I first started smoking cannabis, and even in college, there were never really strain names.
You had weed, and then at some point there was this
you had
exo.
Weed.
Like exotic stuff,
Exactly. It was that. Oh, this is the sensei, or this is the
hydroponic.
Yeah, it was hydro.
Grown indoor.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I'm gonna take a quick pause and go get my plug, so I can charge this, because we don't want to disconnect.
Okay.
Right back.
Yeah. On voudrait remercier Jay de chez Mendo Cannabis du temps qu'il nous donne ce soir. J'espère que vous passez une belle soirée, chat. Moi, j'ai du fun, en tout cas. Ça fait différent. Ça fait un invité spécial avec plein de questions. Puis il est crissement le fun à jaser. On a discuté de ça un peu en allant à Toronto ensemble, que ça pourrait être le fun d'avoir des discussions comme ça en fond. J'ai l'impression que vous trouvez ça intéressant. En tout cas, vous avez l'air super participatif dans le chat. N'hésitez pas, point d'exclamation Mendo, si vous voulez le lien pour vous inscrire encore une fois. Leurs services sont incroyables. Je pense qu'il y en a plusieurs dans le chat qui peuvent en témoigner. Puis n'hésitez pas à utiliser la commande Blackpool pour encourager mon contenu puis la communauté. Bing, bang, 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 bouffe. Il fait l'air encore chez ça. Je pense qu'il aime pas son garage, man. Il est comme dans le garage. Salut, Gogs. Hey, j'ai raté un sub aussi tantôt, excusez. J'ai raté un sub tantôt, ou un follow, quelque chose. Pardon. Tout le monde, si j'ai raté de quoi. Salut les poulettes, c'est l'extra maillot. Il y a la mouche aussi, je te vois encore dans le Discord. T'hésites pas à lever ta main, man, si tu veux parler pour une question. Je vais pouvoir la redire au pire, Amando. Il dit qu'il y avait des compagnies, mais pas beaucoup qui arrivent à fabriquer des labels avec des nanos. What the fuck? C'est sa main, ça qui fait peur. C'est lui qui arrive. What the fuck is that? Ouais, les nano-émulsions de Fly puis Marches. J'ai parlé de Fact, Acting Edible, il drop un name d'une compagnie où j'ai rêvé, ça m'intéresse vraiment. Je vais leur demander, mais c'est les nano-émulsions. Comme je te disais, il y a un podcast de Luc Prévost, lui qui fait Top Pot, le podcast, qui en parle aussi si ça t'intéresse. You hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
okay.
great.
Did you have a name from the company making edible or drink with nano emulsion?
It's too expensive right now for companies not to use CBD isolate and distillate.
Okay.
And there are a few right now. So the company on Mendo is called Emprise, that has the nano beverage shot and also has different nano.
So it's just a shot that you add to the beverage that you
exactly.
want.
Okay. And you'll have the effects really quickly.
Emprise?
And your body will absorb more of the cannabinoids. So a 10 milligram shot of nano will not only work faster, but you'll have a stronger effect than a 10 milligram of a distillate or a CBD isolate because your body will absorb more. There's more available, your body has more availability to absorb it faster.
I need to try that. Interesting.
Yeah. Also, T-God, right, has the powder. It's not a very high-tech nanoemulsification, but it still is really good. So their edibles are using their Ripple powder. It's a company from the US patent that they have the rights to in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So the gummies from T-God are using a nano, so they will act faster and you will absorb more of the cannabinoids.
Cool. Thanks, man.
My pleasure.
Is there a way to do a nano emulsion in-house, or like somebody could do it at home?
Yeah. So I have a friend who lives in Ontario, and his name is Hardin, and he is 180 IQ genius, part-time teacher at the university there, and he built a homemade nano emulsification unit that you can take flour, distillate, CBD isolate, you put anything into this machine, press go, and it makes something that he calls, instead of isolate, esolate. And you can look it up, ESOLATE. You can find them on Instagram also. And what he was able to do is because the oil always was degrading, he was able to encapsulate the THC and CBD molecule in another bigger bubble. And that bubble was a water soluble solution. So when you put it into water, it just shook it up, it disappeared, right? Like CBD isolate won't do that. It'll separate from the water. So he created a real water soluble product that dissolves in water, or he can manufacture it into a liquid or a powder. So for a liquid, he's now sold that technology to a lot of beverage companies that are going to be using it. And so if you're smart as him, you can do it at home, but I'm not.
That seems complicated. We've got La Mouche, a.k.a. Créature, who's got a question. Je t'ai donné la permission, t'as juste à cliquer sur Accept. He's on Discord, I'm gonna transfer the question to you.
Nice. That's good.
Vas-y, ma mouche. Hello.
Bonjour. Hi.
Bonjour.
Bon, I'm gonna ask him this question to Mendel J in English, so he will understand. At what point you were talking about not using the plant or remove all the compounds of the plant and using the distillate or the BHO. But my question is, there are components in the plants who are related to the pigmentation or the chlorophyll, who are called flavonoids. Do they play a part in the process, or they're just discarded from the whole thing? Don't know if I'm clear.
Le Fox, c'est qu'il t'entend pas super bien, mais ouais, je pense.
I think I picked up on it.
Yep.
Is he done talking?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I only got the kind of the end of the question.
N'hésite pas à la retaper dans le chat, peut-être.
Echo. But what I think it was asking, how do flavonoids also play a part in extraction and in the terpene profile and cannabinoids? Is that what you picked up, BP? Did I miss anything?
Something like this, yeah. It was tough. Yeah.
So
does a flavonoid plays a part in the extraction process? Flavonoid.
Yeah, it used to be that those flavonoids were able to be extracted and isolated on their own, and then reintroduced, back into whatever extract that was being made. Everything was kind of separated and then put back together in whatever formulation people wanted. I'm not an expert extractor, but from what I understand now, we're not talking solventless. That's completely separate. We're not talking ethanol. We're just talking straight BHO right now. We're the best extractors in the world are trying to retain as many cannabinoids as possible. So there is a man, and he has a company in BC. That's an ACMPR, and he creates extracts that are probably top 3 on the planet. And his cannabinoid contents of his extracts come out in like 98% cannabinoids. Like, think about that, right? You've gotten almost everything in there. Really high terpene contents. Do we have any? Nope. And that's a company called Kind Selections. And he'll be coming to the regulated market. He's waiting for his license to be approved. But if you look up Kind Selections on Instagram, you will see what world-class BHO extracts look like. His COAs are up there, all his testing. He was doing COA testing before anybody was doing COA testing, on their products. Certificate of analysis is COA.
How do you call him on Instagram?
Kind Selections. I think it's under official Kind Selections. Right now, he's in, I think he's sending his extracts to an event called Dabadoo. That's Mila Hash Queen. I know Jean Robert. I know you know him. Jean Robert. I'm looking because it says your name on the thing. Whatever. Anyway, he's entered into Spanibus and taken awards all over the world for his extracts, and rightfully so. Yeah, there it is. Great. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Fire. He also makes the best live resin cartridge in the world. Maybe not the world. He's one of the best cartridges in the world. Known him for a long time.
Fucking shit.
Yeah.
Even the weed is awesome.
Look at that, eh? So that photographer He's a friend of mine, and he works in for a lot of different LPs. He's the photographer is called now I'm forgetting his Instagram. It'll come back to me later. So that's the premium VHO. Hopefully we'll have that on Mendo one day. But in the meantime, there's still a lot of companies doing great stuff. And we have a lot of new extracts coming soon and a lot of new flower.
There was a question about that. Will we have like balanced CBD THC rosin?
So from Earth Wolf, there were somewhere that were not even balanced. But
there's some with CBD, right?
It's the reason why is because there's not a lot of flower. If you have 1-to-1 CBD flower, it's worth more as dry flower per gram than extract after whatever you yield, you know, because you're going to yield a smaller percentage than you're going to manufacture it. Whatever you sell it for will be less than selling the flower because the 1-to-1 flower is very sought after right now.
Okay.
There's not a lot of people growing it.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody uses it for extracts.
Oh,
and that's why we don't see, and that's why you don't see a lot of dabs with CBD. Now, right here is a whole jar of CBD isolate, 99.9% pure CBD isolate, you know, that an ACMPR person gave me through my medical. So when I want my CBD, I take a scoop, I put it into the G-Pen Connect or into my Puffco Peak or whatever, and I vape the straight CBD isolate. And there is no other way to get a faster reaction or effect that you're trying to achieve. So if I'm in trouble, you know, a major stress event, something that you know, gets your heart racing and you can't sleep at night and you just need to relax, or you're angry, or you had a fight with your wife or your mother or your brother or your friend and your mind is racing, that CBD isolate heated to 550 degrees, it tastes like cherries going down. You barely feel it. You blow out a big cloud, but it's just, you barely feel anything. And then that CBD hits you like, you know, you see in the movies when someone puts a needle in their arm, like it's absorbed. The medicine hits you. If you have a dab rig or anything that can do that, or at some point, even if you just buy the new G-Pen that will have the plug, but I don't remember what it's called, but it's going to be really cheap. And by the way, all the G-Pen stuff, where normally we would take our price and then double it, and with their manufacturer said, oh, I don't want to make any profit on the G-Pen stuff. If it costs me like $100, I'm gonna put it up for like 125. I'm not interested in making money on the accessories. Those are for you guys. The accessories work, then you know, it's about the extracts. Mm-hmm. So the G-Pens will be less with us than anywhere. Nice. You know, yeah, I'm not fucking around with that. Like that's the stuff that you guys need. That's stuff that people are the perfect entry. There's one for every level dabber, going all the way up to the Connect. You don't have to start with a Connect. Mm-hmm. You can start with the remember the one that he showed us? It's a 510 thread battery, but also has a ceramic bowl.
It's like just a pen.
Yeah, you just scoop and put your stuff in there, and I'm telling you, that thing rips.
That's nice, yeah.
You know.
Question from Reaper, but I can answer it. Is, are we going to have some stronger edible one day in the store? As long as the Canadian law won't change about the limit at 10 milligram THC or CBD, they won't be able to give us better, stronger edible, unfortunately.
Now, yeah. I like edibles. I like them a lot. And
Bonne nuit, Doc.
I said to Glacial Gold with their oil, I said, I tried cooking with your oil. It was really, really good. I know you did your stream with the oil as well, and you might have overdosed a little bit on maybe. It's pretty strong. It's a good quality.
Yeah.
You know, because that's just the THC, right?
Yeah, it's a distillate. It's not the
distillate, just
effect and all that.
You know, it has one purpose. You know, just put you out. And I'm not trying to change the mood in here, but when you're in terrible pain or cancer or dealing with you know, a chemotherapy, and you can take a 99% distillate or a Rick Simpson oil or a what they used to call Phoenix Tears, and you know, high THC content oils that knock you out, because when you're not in pain. You know. Anyways, change the subject. A few moments later, they were crying. Yeah, where were we? Get me back on track. I'm high.
I don't know. There's another question.
So buzzed.
What do you think about the honey badger nectar collector pipe? What the fuck is that?
Okay, so yeah, nectar collector. Okay, so a nectar connector is like a straw, and it has a titanium tip, and you take your torch and you heat up the metal at the end of the straw, and you take your jar, or you take your dab out and put it on a piece of whatever, and you, as the hot tip hits your thing, you just suck it right through. And sometimes it has a little water bubbler in the middle, you know. But if you do get a nectar collector, make sure you don't do it into your jar, go back and forth with your dirty, you know, take your dab out and be a man, you know, do it clean, do it right. Otherwise, you're going to get a lot of bacteria in your dabs. But that's a good entry level thing, you know. Always make sure you're going to have to find that right temperature, right? You have to heat your nectar collector for 10 seconds on the torch, 8 seconds, because too hot is no good. Too cold is no good. You got to find that sweet spot. That's why we like the Peak, because it's a smart device.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
I use it in Celsius. Get this in store. How do you store live resin and rosin?
All right, I guess we have to turn our camera around here.
Let's show the fridge. Let's go. Fridge. Roast my fridge. Roast my fridge.
Yeah. Actually, okay, I'm going to take a video and I'll put it on the Discord, because I have my background. With my background, it's not going to show, right?
Remove it. We don't care. We've seen your garage.
How do you know? Oh, yeah, I am in the garage.
You went on the Discord at some point in the garage. Without your cheap-ass background, where it's always sunny, man.
You're so right. All right. Here we go.
Je vais prendre une petite vidéo, puis il va le mettre sur le Discord, puis je vais vous l'ouvrir, puis on va checker ça, ça a l'air. Je pense qu'on a exploré le fridge. Le cellier. Moi, j'ai que c'est un petit fridge Coca-Cola comme Momo. Et chez WeWork. Exactement. WeWork office.
Wow.
The sweet spot. That's what she said.
That did not come out good.
That did not come out good. Okay.
Oh, no, that's fine. That'll work. That'll work. What were we talking? There was something important that we were talking about before. I wanted to say, but it's okay.
Honey Badger Nectar Collector Pipe.
Even before that. Even before that.
Strong Edible.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Couldn't have been that important then.
Yeah. But so basically you store it in the fridge. That's the answer?
Yeah, the answer is you store it in the fridge. A full melt bubble hash, that goes in the freezer, but everything else in the fridge. And some people who are real heads will say, okay, when you take it out of the fridge, let it go to room temperature before you open the jar. Otherwise, it'll be exposed to a different temperature of air and there'll be a condensation point and there'll be a chance of bacteria forming on your extract. So, you know, take it out an hour before and let it go to room temperature.
Ah, d'autres questions?
Where should I put it? In which group?
420 general, weed, porn, rosin, whatever.
Very well.
As you wish. You're a god on the Discord, you know it.
There we go. There we go. J'aime bien parler le français avec la community. We'll put that shit there.
It's evil.
You son of a bitch. Oh my god, I'm gonna get you.
Thanks, by the way, for this chat session.
I'm
I
having
got
fun.
feedback again. Yeah, we should do this once per month, man. Every Wednesday, the first Wednesday of the month.
I'm in for sure.
It's better than Joe Rogan, man.
I mean, for sure, we can do really. And
Est-ce qu'il y a d'autres questions dans le chat? Do you have any other question before we close it maybe for tonight or something? Do you have anything else to say, Jay? Do you want to abord?
I'm having
Tu
fun.
veux-tu aborder un autre sujet? Y avait-tu quelque chose d'autre que... Hein? Non, juste des merci dans le chat, that's it. Really good friends, Jay. Oui, c'est vrai qu'il est bon. How do you fight the munchies? Do you have a trick for that?
Yeah, you just smoke another joint.
I think that Wabbit just want to know how do you stay slim like this and so healthy.
I don't know. It's always just genetics, just good genes.
He just walks a lot into all the convention and then complain that his feet hurts and all that.
Oh my god, my feet those 2 days. They were killing.
Mendo existe en Espagne, pas encore mon Will, mais la journée que ça va s'étendre en Europe, tu vas le savoir. Check his Instagram, it's workout.
What do you think the reaction is going to be when a company comes out, you know, like a cookies or that with like a $55 3.5?
Qu'est-ce que vous pensez la commu?
You know?
Quand on va avoir des compagnies comme Cookie, Ghost Drop also, same price approximately. Des compagnies comme Cookie puis Ghost Drop qui vont arriver avec leur petite page puis leur drop puis leur nom à 55-60$ le 3.5. Comment vous prenez ça de votre côté?
I think that there's always going to be people that are going to want to try the new hype strain.
It's like
just a curious, you know?
You buy it once just to try it. It's not going to be your go-to, but maybe it's going to be the stuff that you're going to bring in a party just to impress at some point. You know?
Yeah. But what happens if it's really, really good?
At this point,
what happens if it's like, holy shit, I don't want to smoke anything else except that?
I don't know. You just buy more.
Like, what if it just ruins everything else? You know, I know these guys. You know, they do. Yeah. They're the genetics that they came out with, that they have coming down the line, that they, you know, this is just like their first drop. I'm talking about Cookies now. The Cookies group Noya, who also owns the brand Gage. They've hired some of the best micros with the best genetics to grow and go in those cookie bags of stuff that is like, I saw COAs with 11% terpenes.
Oh, wow.
You know, 34% cannabinoids overall, and just sticky, resinous, beautiful, you know, bud that I think that there's going to be a market for. And I think that the smaller LPs, I think a lot of, unfortunately, the truth of the matter is in this industry, a lot of LPs are going to close over the next 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Either because they went bankrupt or they weren't able to sell their product, or they didn't grow good product. And a lot of them are going to get absorbed by other larger, bigger LPs.
Emerald Health just announced that they're getting out of the market, so I guess they want to try to sell Verdelit, Souvenir.
Yeah, so they're getting out of their recreational and their medical,
Mm-hmm.
and all of their customer base and all of everything is for sale. And they set a ombudsman. They have somebody who's going to be, negotiating the sale with certain LPs that are interested in purchasing those assets. And Mendo is one of those companies who's very interested to see what's available and how we can help those people who now have nowhere to go to get their medical cannabis. They have to find somewhere to go.
True.
Now, Mendo really hasn't begun advertising anywhere, nationally. It's all been word of mouth, and and just kind of growing at a rate that a business should grow. You can't go too fast. You learn how to help 100 people, then you learn how to help 1,000, then 10,000, and and then so on. And you have to be able to give everyone the same equal experience. Nobody cares that you served 800 people good if the 801st person didn't get shipped for 3 days because his order fell through the cracks somewhere and no one answered his email because we're not big enough to handle it.
Yeah.
But we'll grow when, and believe me, the company says, Jay, let's open up the gates. Let's go. I said, well, we got to hold back. We got to make sure that we provide the care,
People would like to know is there going to be any more low 420? And Putin's got a point that cookies and gauge and all that going to be way better than low 420 at $55 for 3.5 because I don't know. It's like they're coming with their price, but you said it before tonight. There's like a 20% price cut in Quebec for most of the cannabis, so they're not up par with the market. I don't know.
Yeah, Lot 420 sells for more outside Quebec, of course, a lot more. And it's worth it because it's rare, and something that's rare and good should cost more.
True.
I know I said that I believe everything should cost $10. There are the exceptions. That is a special flower that, we all know it. I can talk about it. It's just a special flower. It's besides bag appeal is one. We can talk about bag appeal and, bud size and, I say it all grinds up into the same,
it's
kind
when you
of
smoke it. It's when you consume it. It's when you inhale it and you have this first draft that that you paid for something that's above than something else,
Yeah. There's not a lot of flower that I'll smoke in a joint, but theirs is one of them.
Yeah.
Because
I like to see the new stuff they're making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we will have Lot 420 probably delivered in December to Mendo. I had a meeting with them today, and we'll be getting some of their latest batch, and it'll be at the same price as the SQDC because that's how they want it.
Do you have any I don't want to put you up to the wall, but do you have any development on the other thing you spoke about?
On clones and seeds?
I don't know, not clones and seeds, but about low 420. You had something else that maybe...
Yeah. Yes, we were trying to get their smalls. We were going to call it Lot 420 bits. They decided after long discussions, and it was kind of me pushing them saying, you can probably get more money doing it in pre-rolls. So hopefully that, that's something that we'll see from them soon. And that's not a secret. They've mentioned it before. So
okay,
there will be some other news. Okay. There will be more Lot 420 news coming soon.
Let me show the video that you took of your fridge.
Yeah, so that's a terp cooler. It's actually
What the fuck? Wait, a turb cooler? Look
yeah,
at that
that's a terp cooler.
motherfucking machine, man. It's like a
Okay.
computer.
So it's got a blue light inside. So you got the blue light. You can set it to the temperature and humidity. It locks. It's got 3 different tray levels and keeps all your terps nice and safe. And it's also pretty baller.
Pretty baller, you say. God, c'est le frigo de la muerte.
Yeah, that's fire.
Wow. How much
I'm
does
gonna
that
get you a
cost,
terp.
man?
I think you're gonna need a terp cooler for Christmas.
I
maybe.
need a turb cooler for Christmas, man. Give me a
Yeah,
sponsor.
Yeah.
Do they do freeze dryer also?
We'll have to Google their page. I'm sure they've upgraded them now.
But I might be too curious, but how does that cost?
It was the first drop, I think, that I ordered it on. And I think that there was it was like a Kickstarter, and if you ordered before the launch, I think we got 50% off. It's maybe it's 3 years now, so I don't know. I kind of have no idea what I paid. Maybe $300.
Got you. You got a nice collection inside of there also. The value inside is more than the
I have very nice friends. Yeah.
Sick, man. 299 US. Boom. Ça fait un peu penser à un cellier à vin. Yep. Le rêve. Any chance Mendo gets some kind of extract sometime in 2022? Some kind of extract? We do have you have extract, right? I mean,
yeah, we dropped some what was it? Las Vegas lemon blueberry skunk live resin that dropped today from Rad. Also a blueberry crossed with skunk. So and I think they're like $35. I think they're some of the best value live resins in Canada right now, that company. The Rad resin. So that's new. And we will be getting the entire line. Yeah, those top 3 right there.
That's the new stuff.
I think on top was the new stuff. I think we had the stuff at 35 on the first. Yeah, right there. Yeah, those are the 2 new ones: the mixtape and the
Blueberry
live resin oversupply. Those 2 really good.
Nice.
Yeah.
If you have any comment about Mendo, si vous avez des commentaires à propos de Mendo, des suggestions, les gens, justement, c'est le temps aussi, tant qu'à avoir Jay, si vous voulez poser des questions, vous trouvez que telle section du site sera améliorée, ou whatever, telle description de produit sera à refaire, ou vous trouvez que ces emails en français sont bizarres. Est-ce bien compris qu'il allait avoir du kind selection? Kind selection? Did we talk about that?
Yeah, that was the Instagram you went to.
Oh, yeah. Is it going to be available on Mendo at some point, or?
No, well, he's still far away from being able to sell to the legal market. Right now, he just deals with his friends and makes it for himself.
Yeah, gotcha.
And those pictures, it's just his hobby, Yeah.
Better section and a high to low price filter. Okay. Better section and a high to low price filter is the comment we're getting.
Oh, I thought, we don't have a high to low price filter.
I'm not sure. You have a filter from.
I thought on the bottom of the.
You got the range filter, like you can put this, but to sort.
Oh, them, you can't go back. Okay, you can't sort them.
Yeah, I don't think you can sort them.
Yeah.
But I like the category Les coups de cœur de Jay.
Thank you very much. I think those are good. They're probably the most popular items anyway. Those are the ones that people seem to like. So I figured to give people easy access to find them.
I think that's something that's important to say to people is that you take time to do a great description of the product. Sometimes the description might be like
I try to be as accurate as possible.
There's always some place for improvement, but yeah.
Yeah.
You need to read the description to make sure that what you're buying is what you're gonna get. Yep. Great stuff.
Almost every product passes through my eyes, but not every single one. Some things get just packaged elsewhere and never get to really see what.
Ouais, c'est ce qu'on parlait tantôt, les paquets différents, 7 grammes, 14 grammes. Il y en a qui parleraient qu'ils aimeraient avoir du 5 grammes, du 7 grammes aussi. Ça dépend. Je pense que c'est la demande aussi qu'il faut qu'il soit là. Do you think that somewhere is a roadkill skunk strain ready to be reborn?
Imagine. I can still smell it now. You know? Secondaire 4, Secondaire 5. That's all that there was. You know? You open that little baggie and you'd have that roadkill skunk smell. But that's
long gone.
It's long gone, right?
Filter by weight could be useful also. Yeah. J'ai eu un card d'un gramme de Gorilla Glue.
Yeah, the filter by weight is something that I'm having a bug with the formats. I would have to redo individually almost every single product one by one and make a small little adjustment just because of the style of our WordPress sites while we're waiting for the Cannabis 365 software to be ready, which was supposed to be ready months ago, but now the company got bought. Now it won't be ready till maybe February or March, where our site is going to be on the Microsoft Cannabis 365 software. We're going to be the first ones to have it. The site is going to be like nothing you've ever seen before. It's going to be really special, but who knows? Still could be 6 months away. So I'm trying to make the site as easy to navigate as possible, but now that we're getting more and more products, there's so many pages, I need to work on the filters. So that's going to be my first priority after I do this one thing. I have to do something for the site first, and then I'm going to update those filters so that it can really narrow down what you're looking for.
Nice.
Yeah.
Raymond qui dit qu'il y a un pack de old school pack de roadkill skunk. Skunk been too much breeded or simply stopped to being crapped? Also on your meta and CEO, Valaxe, you need to work on the meta and CEO. He knows what he's talking about. I'm not gonna.
No,
he does work in that industry.
I haven't even done anything with that yet. You know, because one thing with medical cannabis and SEO that just from my, and I'd like to get his opinion. Right now, if you type into Google Canadian medical cannabis or Canadian cannabis or Canadian cannabis medical store, anything that has to do with that, there's pages and pages and pages and pages of moms and
illegal services
who pay so much money to get their mom out there first to trick people into thinking they're a legal store, and they have beautiful websites and they look legal, and if you shop on them, that's fine. You know, in the past, before the legal, I had no choice. That's where I got cannabis that way. But you know, they fool a lot of people, and people even sometimes think Mendo, you know, okay, come on, like what kind of scam is this, you know? You know, we have to explain. They're like, fucking what do you mean 514 dope doesn't make me get a license, you know? Like, well, yeah, I know, but that's a different kind of website. So yeah,
they are carried by the referee link. Yeah, probably people getting money to refer people to this website and all that. I guess that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
La couleur dépend des variétés température de presse, blablabla. Ok. Okay.
So I don't know if I'd ever be able to get to the first page of Google. you know,
you will.
No, but I mean, do I need to?
I don't know.
You know,
it will happen organically.
I think there's other creative ways to get Mendo in front of people's eyes that other companies haven't done yet, that I think will kind of start to set the trend, and we'll see more people starting to do what we do. More people will start coming out with marketplaces trying to copy us. It's the nature of the business.
I know I told you already, but I saw it from like the experience in Toronto where at like 3 months ago I was talking about Mendo Cannabis to some LP friends of mine and stuff like this, and they were like, "Who the fuck are you talking about?" And then people are just texting me, "Are you with Jay from Mendo? Can I meet him? And I want to talk with him." And yeah, Mendo Cannabis. And, yeah, the thing changed. It switched. It switched at some point, and I don't know what happened, but somewhere you did a good job, I guess.
Yeah, that's, and hopefully, when people try to, sometimes when you do well, it doesn't make people happy, whether it's other LPs or other businesses, people on Instagram who might, start reporting your page and things like that. And, these are things that we have to know that when people try to redo it, are they going to have a Mendo J on their side? Are they going to have the guy who's going to call back the customer who sent an email at 7:30 at night, who wasn't happy with his order, and call him the moment that email comes in and say, "Hey man, how are you? Tell me about it. And let's talk and this and that," and say, "Hey, you know what? Why don't we do this? And why don't we do that? And all right, cool. So I'll send you an email tomorrow." And that customer gets off feeling like $1 million. $1 million. Can I do that? Will I be able to do that forever? No, but I'm going to continue to do it as long as I can.
Basically,
until I can't do it all by myself, I'm going to find another person who I can train, who has the love for it, who can do it just as well as I can.
So as of now, do you want a clip of that so you can send to Jose and ask for a raise for Christmas? Or
yeah.
Doing things like this tonight is the best way to get, be true, share with people. That's the way to go. True. You're doing an AMA on Reddit also, I guess, and for the Canadian LP Reddit.
Yeah, they reached out and said, "We love what you guys are doing, and we'd love to invite you to do an AMA." It was like a couple of months ago, and I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." And
it's on the December 10th, right?
December 10th, 2 p.m. Eastern time.
I'll need to release a few.
And I don't. There's no video, but it's not quite. I've never been a part of one there. I think it's just.
It's great. It's great. People type question before. They might have started already typing some question for you, and then you're gonna be able to answer it during the hour. And some people would add sub question and stuff like this. It's really great.
But I think anything we can do to help medical patients get better cannabis at a good price, because that's all that it's about, right?
Yep.
I think when most people come to Mendo and they look, they say to themselves, "There's no reason not to sign up," right? Like, I might not shop there every week or get all my cannabis from them, but there's certain staples that I get every month from Mendo. That whether it's the vanilla frosting ounce, like that vanilla frosting ounce at 90, whatever, it's a great price, but people, as soon as their ounce runs out, they get another one and another one and another one, because it does the job, and there's a value there, So we're really proud of that. And if I can find more vanilla frostings and more things that people continuously want to have in their head stash, because the vanilla frosting is great for their daytime, and or it's very functional, and now I found a great indica at a great price that I can always have, that puts them to sleep every night, no matter what. There are those strains out there that you don't really build up a tolerance to. They just hit you, and they just every night.
Yeah,
I'll find it. I get samples every single week, and I will find all those strains that we will always have, and build and dial in the menu that hopefully people feel is the best menu in Canada.
And you'll be back to talk to us about it in a month in the Mendo chat in a smoke sesh with us. That's fucking nice, actually, man. I really want to do this again, maybe next month or something, because I think that more and more people would be inclined and will want to ask some question, and I think it's something we should do more often, actually. Yep.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was a pleasure to be on here with you guys answering the questions.
Drop some love, chat. Dropper du love pour le beau Mendo, man, et le bon Mendo qui était très généreux de son temps et de ses réponses ce soir. Merci. Thanks a lot, bro.
C'est un plaisir.
Happy Hanukkah once again.
I appreciate that. Tonight's the 4th night of Hanukkah.
Great.
We still have 4 more nights to go.
Let's go. You can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cringe.
That's
Almost. No. OK. Have a good night, bro. Thanks again. Merci pour le love dans le chat. Tout le monde dropez-en plus, il en mérite plus. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Peace.
Peace.
Leave the meat.